Ancient gladiators were men prepared for death. Every training session had a single purpose: to keep them alive one more day inside the arena. Their bodies were built to endure punishment, absorb damage, and keep moving when fear took over. This is why they looked unstoppable, and in this video we'll share the 4 hidden secrets of ancient gladiator training and how you can replicate them in your routine. Stick around, because the last one builds a kind of strength that meant the difference between life or death for gladiators. But before moving forward, here's a chilling question for you. If you were stuck inside an arena and had to fight till your last breath, would you choose offense or defense as your strength? Comment below your thoughts. And right before we jump into the strength secrets, let's discuss who gladiators really were. When the gates closed behind them, the idea of choice disappeared. Just like in the opening moments of this story, gladiators were not built for glory. They were built for survival, and survival demanded everything. Most gladiators were slaves, prisoners of war, criminals, or desperate volunteers with no future outside the arena. Once they entered the Ludus, their old identity was erased. Names were replaced with roles. Comfort was removed immediately. Life became rigid, controlled, and brutally structured. Every hour had purpose, and that purpose was preparation for death. Training was not optional, and it was never gentle. Weakness was not judged, it was corrected. If a man lacked strength, he was made stronger. If he lacked endurance, he was pushed until his body adapted. Pain was not a punishment, it was a teacher. The goal was not confidence or pride, but reliability under pressure. Inside the Ludus, survival became the only reward that mattered. Those who adapted lived longer. Those who didn't were removed from the system quickly. This environment forged men who understood one truth above all else. In the arena, excuses meant nothing. Only preparation decided who walked out alive. And that brings us to their first and most brutal training routine: training for maximum impact. Gladiator training was never meant to impress anyone watching from the stands. It was built for one purpose only: to absorb impact and return it with control. Inside the Ludus, fighters prepared for collision, not appearance. Every movement had to hold up when bodies slammed together and weapons crashed into shield and bone. One of their harshest methods was training with wooden weapons made heavier than steel. These oversized tools forced the shoulders, arms, and back to adapt to constant resistance. When a gladiator finally held a real weapon, it felt lighter, quicker, and easier to command. Strength came from endless repetition. Strike after strike carved endurance into the muscles and resilience into the joints. That repetition hardened the forearms, wrists, and shoulders. Impact was expected, not avoided. Over time, the body learned how to take force without folding. Hands stopped flinching. Arms stayed steady even under exhaustion. Pain became familiar, which meant it stopped controlling the mind. Balance and footwork were treated as life skills. Speed without stability was dangerous. One careless step could expose the body or send a fighter to the ground. Gladiators trained to stay rooted, weight-centered, stance unbreakable. Remaining upright mattered more than landing a fast strike. That lesson still applies today. Impact training can be rebuilt through sledgehammer swings, heavy bag work, medicine ball slams, farmer carries, sled pushes, and controlled plyometrics. These movements teach the body to absorb force, stay stable, and keep working under stress. Gladiators weren't built for admiration, they were built to survive impact, and modern training can still follow that rule. Even James Pyrat from Wild Hunt Conditioning talked about how adding some gladiator training fixed one of his chronic back problems.
This ancient gladiator exercise fixed my back overnight. Check it out.
For years, I dealt with lower back pain that held me back from training at full strength. Then I found the gladiator deadlift while researching Roman gladiator training for one of my workout programs.
After training to absorb heavy blows from an opponent's sword, gladiators needed something that would make them outlast their opponent. And that brings us to the next strength secret: training for endurance. Gladiator training continued long after the body wanted to stop. Drills were extended deliberately, often under the sun, when heat drained strength and blurred focus. Fatigue was not a signal to rest. It was the condition they were expected to perform in. Pain became part of the environment. Muscles burned, lungs strained. The body ached constantly, and that ache was never treated as something unusual. Over time, pain stopped feeling like an emergency. It became background noise. This allowed fighters to stay focused when everything hurt, instead of panicking or freezing. Breathing under stress was drilled into them. Learning how to control the breath while exhausted kept the heart rate steady and the mind clear. A gladiator who could breathe properly could recover faster between exchanges, even while injured or overheated. Panic wasted energy. Calm breathing conserved it. The purpose behind this suffering was precise. Combat never arrived when the body was fresh. It came after running, striking, falling, and being struck. A fighter who only performed well when rested was already defeated. Gladiators trained to move, strike, and think while depleted because that was the reality of the arena. If the body could function in training misery, it could survive combat chaos. That belief shaped every long drill and every punishing session. Endurance was not measured by distance or time. It was measured by who could continue when quitting felt like relief. Modern-day exercises like swimming an entire length of the pool or running till your legs give out are a few strong implications of ancient gladiator training. Building stamina is good, but that isn't the complete story. Gladiators had to be complete overall, otherwise any part of their body could give up any moment, and that brings us to the next secret, which is full body conditioning. Full body conditioning began where control replaced repetition and chaos replaced routine. Wrestling and clinch work were constant in gladiator training. Fighters learned how to control another man's weight, manipulate balance, and apply force while resisting force at the same time. Being pinned to the ground was not failure, it was a problem to be solved. Training taught them how to breathe under pressure, shift leverage, and regain position after being slammed or dragged down. This kind of conditioning demanded total body involvement. The neck had to brace, the grip had to lock in. The core stabilized every movement while the legs drove power from the ground. No muscle worked alone. Strength came from coordination, not isolation. The body was trained to move as a single connected system that could adapt instantly to resistance. This mattered because real combat was never clean. Fighters tripped, fell, tangled, and fought at close range. The gladiator who could recover quickly after hitting the ground gained control while others panicked. Ground strength often decided who stood back up and who didn't. Modern training can still recreate this demand. Wrestling drills, clinch work, resistance grappling, heavy carries, and controlled ground-based movements like Turkish get-ups and sandbag drills restore integrated strength. These methods train the body to stabilize, react, and recover under pressure. Gladiators didn't train muscles, they trained control. But training your body as a whole meant nothing without the one strength secret that could make or break gladiators in the arena. The last secret is a bit overlooked, but it packs a punch, and that is the gladiator diet. Gladiators did not eat for appearance or indulgence. They ate to endure another day. Their diet was built to support recovery, strength, and the ability to train again under brutal conditions. Historical accounts describe meals centered around grains, legumes, and simple proteins. These foods fueled long hours of training and replenished energy stores without excess. The goal was not leanness or size, but reliability. A gladiator who could not recover was useless, no matter how skilled he was. Strength had to be repeatable, day after day. Recovery was taken seriously, not out of compassion, but out of necessity. Injuries were treated carefully. Broken bones, deep cuts, and joint damage were managed by trained physicians because a healthy fighter was valuable. Rest was structured into the system. Training was intense, but it was not random. There was a balance between stress and repair that allowed fighters to survive extended careers in the arena. The modern implication is clear. Hard training without proper recovery leads to breakdown, not resilience. Today's athletes, soldiers, and even everyday trainees face similar demands. High stress requires high-quality fuel, adequate rest, and intelligent recovery strategies. Nutrition that supports performance, consistent sleep, mobility work, and injury prevention are not luxuries. They are survival tools. Gladiators understood this centuries ago. Training built the weapon, diet and recovery kept it usable. Without them, even the strongest body eventually failed. So which gladiator training method was your favorite? Comment below your thoughts and subscribe for more content like this.